So I guess you can call this maybe part 2 of the follow-up videos for my trip down to Central California to go to VCF West 2022. But this is a pickups video. Of course, at the festival, I bought a bunch of fun toys. And on the way down there, I took a little bit of a side trip to Bend, Oregon to purchase some other pieces of mostly Unix-related stuff from someone that I had found through a Facebook group. But ironically, after I was talking to this person, found out he had seen all of my SPARCstation 5 videos and was already a subscriber to the channel. Just further proving, what a small world this can be sometimes. People familiar with the geography of Oregon will maybe be thinking, Bend isn't really a small side trip from Portland, and it's not. It added probably an hour and a half to the total trip time, but it's still much shorter than making a specific dedicated trip over to Bend and back to Portland. So I just kind of did a big loop around. And like this pile of stuff is everything that I acquired on the whole trip. So let's take a look at some of these individual things. So I went to Bend originally only intending to pick up a couple of things, but the gentleman that I met there was a master upseller, and he knew the kind of stuff I was looking for. And we found he had some other neat toys in his collection that I definitely for sure wanted. I possibly could have filled up an entire carload, but I had some willpower. So there were a few neat things that I picked up for the Multia systems that I've been working on. One of them, probably the most important thing, was this little cable doodad. So on the one Multia, this is the cable that goes from the SCSI riser board to the back of the chassis. The other one of my other Multia doesn't have this, so while I was working on that, connecting SCSI drives to it was a huge hassle, so this will make it a lot easier. In addition, he had one of these little gems. So the Multia uses the same 2.5-inch SCSI interface that a handful of very old PowerBooks used to use, and SCSI SD devices with that form factor they just never get produced. So being able to get one of these was super cool. Unfortunately, I still don't have a cable for it. So if anyone knows where I can get a cable that would go from about here to here, so maybe, I don't know, 8 inches or something, because it would have to go and have a twist, that would be awesome. But I have looked and have not been able to find such a cable. Another cool bit for the Multias is this. So this is just a 8 megabyte Permidia 2 board, but it's actually produced by digital, so it will for sure work with the Alpha systems, and it's got the 3D glasses plug that even is labeled, kind of neat. But then the real stuff that I went there for was some Unix gear, specifically some Sun gear. So he had this. This is, I had mentioned this in my SPARCstation 5 videos last year, that the SPARCstation 5 has a special interface called AFX that is unique to that model of SPARCstation. And it's kind of like VESA Local Bus in that it's just intended to be a fast, memory bandwidth pipe from the CPU to a graphics board. And this was the only graphics board that was ever made for the AFX bus. So it's very cool having one of those. And now the first thing that I actually went there intending to buy was, and here's the AFX slot here. This is a replacement SPARCstation 5 motherboard. The one that I have from the videos last year was an 85 megahertz, and this is 170 megahertz. So it's literally twice as fast. And the AFX bus is right here. The card connects in like this. Now, unfortunately, so SPARCstation 10s and 20s have S-bus slots, and then they have another row of S-bus slots back here, so you can kind of stack the cards. If you're using the AFX slot, you cannot also use this S-bus slot. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but it's okay. So these will be some fun toys to play with. Now, the real piece of kit that I made that whole giant side trip to Bend for was this. So now this is a dual S-bus card. This is a ZX frame buffer card, also known as Leo. This is a super, super early 3D accelerator. And it is very primitive by today's standards. As massive as this card is, it's a dual layer card with, I mean, you can see a ton of custom ASICs on it, piles of memory chips scattered all over. It basically does Z buffering and Garo shading. It also draws anti-alias lines very fast. So this was intended as a CAD card. I want to say it does, like, for whatever they decided was the average length to benchmark, I want to say like 700,000 anti-alias lines per second and something like 300,000 triangles per second. So very primitive functionality, very slow, but a super cool card that I honestly never thought that I would find one not in a system. These primarily came in SPARCstation 1s and 2s. There was a custom, I want to say it was basically a SPARCstation 2 that shipped with this that they called the SPARCstation ZX that sold in 1994 when this board came out. It sold for like $20,000 for the system. Just a huge pile of money. And that's 1994, $20,000. 2022, that pile is much larger, thank you, inflation. I don't know how much these boards sold for loose as add-ons, but this is for sure going to get multiple dedicated videos. I'm super excited about this. So that was the stuff. It seemed like I had something else from that part of the trip, but I don't see it sitting here on the table. So that must have been it that I picked up on that part of the trip. Now, after the little side trip to Bend, I did head down to Central California with haste to get to VCF. Hopefully, you've already seen the overview video of VCF West. It was great fun. And of course, I bought some stuff while I was there. Funny enough, the first thing that I picked up was right by registration. There was a small table of free stuff where there was these little oddities. And a couple people in front of me picked them up and looked at them and were like, what the heck? So these are keyboard overlays for file form and fin form, which I'm guessing is financial something. I don't know. For the Mattel Aquarius computer. I do have a Mattel Aquarius, and I've got a modern-made game for it that someday I'm going to do a review of. I need to get around to it. So I grabbed these just to add to the Aquarius collection. Just is kind of funny. Also, like I had mentioned in the overview video, I picked up this cool 386 board. It does have a little bit of damage up in this area from where the battery previously had been. So it looks really, really minor. So it probably still works. It may need a little bit of effort. The cool thing was it actually had the manual with it. Now, the picture on the front and some of the jumpers don't... It's not exactly the same, but I am pretty sure that this is the manual for this board, even though there's no specific markings to call out this model on the board. But it's kind of cool because it also has the addendums, the corrections, the oops. So I'm for sure gonna scan this and get this on archive.org if it's not already. And this board is going to make another brief appearance in a future video, but I don't think I'm going to do a super detailed video about this particular board, unless people are really excited about it and want to know more. I also picked up a couple of these. These are adapters to convert the Socket 370 Celerons to be able to operate in slot 1 motherboards. These are always super useful. This one, I'm actually wondering if it might be one of the ones. There were some later ones that would actually work with the Socket 370 Pentium 3s. So I'm hoping that maybe this is one of those. I haven't checked them out yet. I saw them. They were in a bin for $1 a piece, and I thought, for $1, I mean, come on. How can I pass it up? So I picked up a couple of drives. I picked up a SCSI zip drive because those are always useful to have with old systems. Now this is each of these were $5. $5. And this is where here's the cautionary tale of always look closely at what you're buying. The label says SCSI hard drives, but it's most definitely an IDE. So, yay, I don't have enough giant pile of like 50 IDE hard drives in that kind of capacity range. Oh well, it was $5. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. So I also made a stop by that giant library for sale, and I picked up this book. Back in my early days of assembly coding on the Amiga, I didn't have this book, but one of my really good friends that I did a lot of projects with, he had this book, so I have some nostalgia for it. It's a really good book about 68,000 assembly language. So when I saw it, I had to pick it up just for nostalgia's sake. And then, like I had mentioned in the previous video, they had, I think, every issue of Byte. So on one of the afternoons when there wasn't anything else going on and I just wanted to sit for a spell, I went through and I pulled out these 4 issues from 1978 and 1979, just because there's so much cool stuff in them, like really cool ads. A bunch of these had have some very cool projects in them that are add-ons. Oh, and in fact, here is one of the projects. Let me see if I can flip back to it. Anyway, very cool add-on projects for different like kit home computers in the day. And so this one is adding a sound chip to a computer. I am going to try to do probably some variation of this project with the ET3400 that I have, the 6800 based kit computer. And each of these has some cool project in it that I kind of want to do, or at least talk about at some point. So these were fun. Now, by far the coolest thing that I picked up at VCF was this little gem. Pardon the loud wrapper crinkling. This is a processor upgrade board for the SGI O2. Now there was a label on it that I have misplaced. I want to say that this is a 195 megahertz R10000, which is a significant, so it is definitely an R10K because it says that on here, but it doesn't list the clock speed anywhere that I can easily read. This is a significant upgrade over the CPU that's currently in my O2. I have basically the second wimpiest CPU board that they made for that. It's an R5000 with a small amount of cache. They did a couple R5000 boards that had either no L2 cache, a little bit of L2 cache, and then I want to say there was one that was a higher clock speed that had a bit more L2 cache. But I have that second lowest one, and this is gonna, I want to say, probably triple the performance of that system. Now, the one thing that I do need to get for this before I can use it is, because of the motherboard that's in my O2, this is where the processor board connects to the motherboard, and they're not long enough. So you need to get basically some extenders, and there are vendors on eBay that make these. They're very inexpensive. This is another thing that I've been kind of watching for on eBay, and they never come up, or if they do come up, they're new in box and people want a justifiably large pile of money for them that is much larger than I want to pay. But this I got a very good deal on. Oh yeah, it is 100. I just noticed it is 195 megahertz. Someone wrote on it in Sharpie. So I'm very excited about this. I had previously tweeted a picture of I bought some RAM for the O2. So I am very much hoping that in Unixtober, coming up here just next month, that I will do a video upgrading the hell out of that O2 and playing around with the O2. I'm practically giddy about it. The last thing that I picked up on my whole journey is I picked up at a game shop down in the San Diego area that I like, and I'm going to do a specific video about that part of the trip also. That's coming up soon. I'm going to fit it in around some other projects. I picked up the complete inbox Arkanoid for the Coco 2. So that was a good addition to my collection. I've been wanting to get versions of Arkanoid for basically every 8-bit computer or console game system for a while. I've been kind of gradually working on this collection. So picking this up I was pretty happy to find this. So that is everything from my trip to Central California by way of Bend for VCF West 2022. Please, if you enjoyed this video, click the like button. If you're interested in seeing any of the follow-up content that will come from some of these pickups, click the subscribe button. And until next time, try to remember the good stuff.